Now, researching the history of drug laws, prior to this book, I assumed drug laws were introduced to stop people taking drugs because drugs hurt people and they didn't want people harming themselves. Boy, was I wrong. Drug laws were introduced because certain corporate interests around the early 1900s wanted to eliminate their competition. I'll give you one example, would be the pharmaceutical societies which put up the very first money to lobby for drugs laws, especially marijuana, because they didn't want people growing medicine in their own backyards for free. Plastics, DuPont, feared hemp products. William Randolph Hearst, he had investments in forests, millions invested. A machine called a decorticator was about to enable hemp products to be mass produced on an industrial scale. So all these industries, petrochemicals, the beginning of big pharma, plastics, were terrified of this competitive threat. One of the bankers that was financing these industries, Andrew Mellon, became the Treasury Secretary for the US federal government. And he put his future son-in-law, Harry Anslinger, as one of the first drug czars. And this guy remained a drug czar for decades. This Harry Anslinger was massive racist. I mean, he was making statements like big-lipped blacks on cocaine, all they want to do is rape white women. And if you shoot a black on cocaine, a regular bullet won't kill him. The police got so scared, they actually got bigger caliber bullets to shoot blacks on cocaine because they had superhuman strength. Harry Anslinger said jazz music was the work of the devil and marijuana would make young people turn violent, and they put out videos of a young lad smoking weed, getting an axe and killing his parents. So immediately then, they caused hysteria through the media because William Randolph Hearst, he was the media tycoon, he was like the Rupert Murdoch of the day. He put out all these headlines with this racist nonsense. And the public were just in absolute uproar over it. And that's how they got support for the Marijuana Tax Act. They said, let's call it marijuana because people don't know what that means. We'll say it's this new evil drug from Mexico. Even hemp farmers who were in support of the Marijuana Tax Act didn't know that they were putting themselves out of business by yeah. So Harry Anslinger was very crafty and very powerful. He had the full backing of the industrialists. And over the decades, he tightened this up to introduce the whole world to signing on to his drug laws through the United Nations. Yeah. Marijuana is illegal in most countries around the world, including the UK, because of what this big-time racist forced upon us. And he said to all the countries around the world, if you don't sign up for this, America won't trade for you through the United Nations. And to this day, Obama has maintained weed as a Schedule 1 drug, as harmful as heroin, and more harmful than cocaine. Because with no medicinal value at all, yet marijuana is the most medicinal plant on the face of the earth. And when I say that, I'm not saying everyone should go out and smoke it and will get these health benefits from it. No, not at all. I'm talking about people with cancer who are about to die. They're in chemotherapy and they can't eat. And the marijuana stimulates the appetite. There's parents out there whose children are having hundreds of seizures a week and they're at risk of going into comatose and dying. And yet on marijuana, hemp, it stops all that and saves their lives. This guy in Wales just got busted growing a pot plant. He's got some terminal illness. He was in agony. And the police went in there and the police in this country are saying that they haven't got the money to investigate all these political paedophiles. And they're out busting sick people, growing plants that can help them with their own pain. The whole system needs to be relooked at. This is why I'm against the war on drugs. And the people who put the best arguments out for these drug laws being eliminated are the police. And I'm talking about Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. Brilliant speakers, and if you go on YouTube and look at any of their videos, they say, look, I joined the police to go after murderers, robbers, rapists, paedophiles. That's how crime has been defined for millennia. Now all my time is taken up arresting non-violent drug offenders. It's turned society against the police because so many people take drugs, and most of the arrests under the war on drugs are weed. The government's saying, oh, we're out arresting the Pablo Escobars of the world, the El Chapos of the world. It's absolute nonsense. At the peak of the war on drugs, a young person was getting arrested every minute with weed. So what was happening? These kids were then getting thrown in a jail where they could get raped, where they could get murdered. And this was happening so much in America that the parents got sick of it. And this is why one of the reasons why you've got all these states decriminalising now. Parents don't want their kids getting thrown in these places where they could get murdered and raped and get introduced to the hardest drugs, heroin, crystal meth. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever for society or the taxpayers, but all these corporations are making money off the back of it, and they're lobbying and putting all this money up to both political parties, the main political party, whichever gets in power, to keep all these contracts going. And researching further into the history of marijuana in particular and how it's been used for thousands of years as medicine, and hemp oil especially, it can cure cancer from the research that I've been reading. On the way up here today, I was listening to a documentary about the endocannabinoid system and how the cannabinoids in marijuana operate, and they go in and fight cancer cells. They cause the cancer cells to commit suicide, and they don't destroy any of the tissue around them. Yet people who are getting this hemp oil, it's illegal, and they're getting arrested, and they're not allowed to try and save their own lives. I'm talking about people like Rick Simpson. He had skin cancer, and he cured it just by putting hemp oil on the lesion. Yeah, and he ended up in trouble with the police, and he's in Eastern Europe now, and he's talking widely about it. So the drug laws were based on racism. They're an anachronism. They've caused millions of young people to end up in prison. Over 1 million young people in this country have got weed convictions, can't get jobs, weren't dealing. And it just all needs to be reversed. And I'm not saying everyone should go out and take drugs. I'm saying to young people especially, stay away from the drugs because of what the bad things it leads to that happened in my life. But if you look around the world, the countries that have got the most punitive drug laws have got the biggest drug problems. The countries that have got sensible drug policies have got the opposite. Once you take the buzz out of drugs, the illegality, because I used to buzz on this cops and robbers thing, you know, driving around. Once you take that out, the rush is gone. It's boring then. You know, some of the kids don't want to do it.